Hey, what's going on, guys? Mike Glover, Fieldcraft Survival. Today, I'm going to talk about kit. I'm not really a kit head. I really wasn't a kit head on active duty, and you guys know what I'm talking about, those guys. But the more I expand my interest in the civilian world, the more I'm getting wrapped around the differences between kind of the military kit versus the kit that I need for hunting, for shooting, for all of the things that I enjoy to do. And so I've become a kit guy. I am also a creature of habit. There's a lot of kit that I use that I've used for literally over a decade that I haven't really changed up, that is pretty effective as a transition from military to civilian life. And so today, the first thing I'm gonna do is talk about this guy right here, my old overt battle belt. Now, this belt has been set up for 13 years. 13 years I've used this belt. I actually used this belt as a senior E7 in special operations as a sniper. I remember using it in specific mission sets, deploying to war. And I also had this when I was a team sergeant in special operations as well. And I've used this belt to train in the military, to operate in the military, but also train civilians on flat ranges. Why would I have this kind of belt? I'll talk about that and a lot more, because I want to walk you through the history of this and specifically point out why I have utilized these same setups throughout my military experience.
Shooter ready, stand by.
All right, so guys, let's break this out because I do want to talk about the specifics of why I set these things up this way. The first thing, let's talk about the reason why we would need an overt belt. We call this a battle belt back in the day, and sometimes people refer to that as well. But let me tell you about the military, let me tell you about the Central Intelligence Agency, and then let me tell you how it translates to what you're doing. So a battle belt, one of the reasons we designed this and we started wearing this was because we needed to separate our life-saving equipment from the armor that we are wearing in vest. Because when you wear a vest and you have all of your life-saving gear, like your magazines for your M4, your tourniquet, your med kit, and it's on your kit, if something happens where you have to egress or break contact or remove that kit because you're injured, then what are you going to have on your physical person that is going to allow you or facilitate your survival? I remember in early 2005 in Afghanistan, we were wearing these similar type setups, these pieces of kit on a belt, like an actual leather belt in our pants. Whether we were wearing Carhartt or jeans or battle dress uniform, we would separate that from our main kit. And so that's really the origins of that. And then you started seeing guys from different backgrounds and units starting to develop kit. Kyle Lamb of Viking Tactics, this is called the Brokos Belt, named after my good buddy Dan Brokos, started developing these pieces of kit, and it was kind of like tiered down. USASOC started developing it, wearing it, designing it, and then it trickled down to us. Another idea about this belt, before I go into details, is we wanted the ability to don a piece of equipment to be able to fight in haste. What I mean is, you might be in a remote fire base and you get attacked. You hear a rocket incoming, and then you go, hey, what's the worst case scenario? What's a direct attack in combination with indirect fire? So you need to be prepared waking up at 2 in the morning to get your gear and your kit and go to war. So we would carry these belts not only during combat operations, but we would leave them below our bunks. Real quickly, before I go into the details, I used to use this similar setup in my vehicle as a GRS guy. So if I was doing my rounds, doing what GRS guys do, I would have this at my feet. Why? Well, I wasn't going to drive around with this because I was in civilian clothing, but this would be stuffed underneath my seat. So if I had to egress from my vehicle and fight, I could grab it, don it quickly, or even don it while I'm driving, and then be prepared for war, be prepared for combat. So the civilian transition for this is a similar mindset. Now I'm thinking, well, what if somebody kicks in my front door? Well, yeah, it's nice to have the nightstand pistol, but it's better as a tactical advantage to have the overt battle belt. And a lot of guys misidentify this understanding because they think they're too good for it. They say, well, like, why would you ever do that? And my first response is, why would you not do that? Like, I'm not looking for tactical disadvantage in life. I'm already in my underwear. I might be naked. I'm trying to put this belt on and have some fighting capability to defend myself, to defend my family against the worst case scenario. Reach over, grab the belt, put it on, grab the pistol, and now I'm going to work, okay? So let's talk about what I think is the minimum equipment that you need, whether you're training or using this for home defense as civilians, that I will not change even as a team sergeant. Nothing has really changed in this battle belt. The first thing is a holster. I recommend a drop-off. Back in the day in Afghanistan and even Iraq, I have 5 trips to Iraq. The first trip, we were tethering everything to our knee and above. Somewhere in between the knee and the hip, we had these drop-off holsters that were whack. Most of them were made by Blackhawk. No offense to Blackhawk, at least they were making something. But running around Iraq, building climbing over walls, sitting in vehicles, yeah, it was cool because the idea was like, I have a drop off. So where my hand is, I can get quick access to my pistol. Well, we forget we move with our legs, and that usually gets knocked around. And then before you know it, it's like, hey, where's your pistol at? I don't know, true story, it's not involving me. But we wanted to bring up the pistol to have it closer to our body, but we wanted to have a little bit of drop off to separate it from the kit. So if you're wearing body armor and my pistol's too high because it's up on the side of my waist, then I have to clear that. And we used to do like these transition drills where we go boom, boom, boom. And then we would do this, grab the pistol, and then do that. Well, the drop off fixed all of that. I used to run a single strap around my leg, and then I was like, what? I don't even need the strap. Because this holster, this Safariland setup is so well made. It's the same setup I've had on here for a decade that I don't need to worry about a strap. And it gives me enough drop off for easy access, and it locks into it. Remember, the ALS auto locking system keeps retention locked into the holster. That's not for like a security protocol because I'm law enforcement and I have to work through like 5 stages of these things. What that's for is if I'm running and gunning, if I'm building climbing, I don't want my pistol falling on my holster. Make sure you have retention that's locked in here. Just get a Safariland ALS. I'm not sponsored by them, I just know proper equipment and it's proper. Going around this side, which is my strong side, I'm right-handed, I set things up to be dominant-handed accessible. So right here, life-saving pistol. Right here, life-saving tourniquet. Right here, life-saving knife. Right here, life-saving first aid kit. It's all life-saving because my dominant hand has the ability to reach it. And when you think about this, and even in setting it up and looking at it like that, it looks wrong because it looks too close to my pistol. But remember, your waist, my 34-inch waist, bends this way and allows me to have ready access to the equipment. And I'm a big believer in this idea of ready access. When you need equipment like a tourniquet, if it's in a first aid bag in your trunk of your vehicle, it's not gonna do you any good. When you're bleeding, you need it like now, right? So my priorities are, I have a Fieldcraft tourniquet holder that's MOLLE adaptable on my MOLLE nylon on the belt. And then I have a TAC Solutions Soft T Wide tourniquet readily accessible. So I can literally reach back, pull it, and then go to work. I do have a first aid kit right behind that has the ability with, day, night, stress, bleeding out, that I could access these to zip it open and get to a stop the bleed kit. I've been using a marker and red paint marker on the outside of this forever. I do that like once a month. Depending on the wear, and just mark that. Yeah, you can get a high-speed first aid kit. I like GP pouches, general purpose pouches that aren't necessarily built for like a first aid placement of equipment. Remember, if you have a first aid placement of equipment and you rip it off and then you could see it and you can access it, that's one thing. But if I'm blindly reaching into a pouch that's on my battle belt, I want to be able to remove the contents in one sweep and pull it out and go to work. That's why I don't have the little partitions of the bungee inside of the pouch. I also have a Dan Winkler knife. This knife has been on my kit for years. It's pretty well worn. A very expensive knife. Many of these knives, Winkler's knives and hatchets, are known in the Navy community. Not so much the Army, but in special missions units in U.S. Army Special Operations Command, we do carry a lot of these knives. And why would you carry that? Well, why would you not? The tactical advantage is, if I think about kind of my loop of escalation of force, my carbine goes down, my pistol goes down, I'm on my back fighting for my life, I have access to that stabby, pointy thing, even though I use this more for opening boxes and utility. But again, life-saving battle belt that's meant to escalate my use of force. When I come around here, I'm an 18 Bravo. I'm a Special Forces weapons guy. I've been asked on ranges, on every training range with my guys, hey, does anybody got a Gerber? I'm the guy with the Gerber, because I have to have the ability to fix weapons, to do utility-based things in my job. And so I always carry a Gerber or a Leatherman in this pouch right here, depending on the situation. This one's a Leatherman. So this is the Leatherman Blast. I like it because it's not huge, it's not bulky, very clean, but very strong. It has a flat head and a Phillips head, as well as a small utility knife. This is my go-to. Never not have this, because when you need it, you won't have it. So, making my way around, this is known as a dump pouch. Now, what dump pouches are in flat range training? Let me also tune you guys into the use of this in training. This is holding my pistol and my ammo, and I don't have to wear body armor on a flat range. This is the carry holder thingamajiggy for a flat range experience. It keeps it safe. When people ask me like, hey Mike, what do I need to carry or wear when I come to your range and train? An overt battle belt. Well, I want to train like a fight. Well, I don't know you. I don't want you drawing inside the waistband after I don't know you for a couple minutes on the range. I want you to be safe. And the safest way to do that is an overt capacity. Most civilians aren't going to be walking around downtown Scottsdale with an overt setup, but it's a safe way to train, it's effective, and again, in this overt capacity to respond to something bad happening, it's important. So the dump pouch becomes like this admin pouch of putting in empty magazines, putting in tape or your shot timer. So this right here says Pearl, and there's an arrow there because Pearl took a chunk out of my bag. Why would I not get another one? Because I'm a utilitarian. Like, it's fine. It's Pearl, just notched a little hole in it. It's more aerodynamic, a little bit lighter now. But I could fold this up. I think this one's tactical tailor and make it real neat. But I'm mostly using this. Now, in special operations, we didn't use these. We used our cargo pouches and our DCUs, our desert camouflage uniforms, to hold charges. Like a prime charge was held in my pocket. What I mean is like an explosive that could blow my leg off was primed with a 3.8 second delay and ready to go in my pocket. That was our only option. Then one day somebody's like, well, why don't we carry for breachers these breacher pouches? And then we started carrying charges in these pouches, and then they became dump pouches. So you might see a guy in special operations using this. He's not using this for target tape. He's using this likely for explosive charges, for flashbangs, whatever it may be. More or less now I'm using this for snacks. Lots of gummy bears, maybe a black rifle ready to drink, but food and comfort items. But always have this, it's important. Your pockets, you don't have enough of those. Going around this way, on the weak side, which is me as a left-handed or a right-hander, is my left side, you have 2 pistol magazines and 2 carbine mags. Now, let me just hone you into the reason why I have plastic versus nylon, why I have a QD pouch versus having a Crye Precision pouch that has a flap. Again, it's about ready access. If I'm going to do a slide lock or tactical reload off my kit, I want the first thing that my hand touches going from inside the waist to the out. So fresh mag, plastic. Why? Because I could adjust the strength or the the tension in the plastic to hold this, but I also want quick ready access. If I'm doing a slide lock pistol reload in combat, things have gone horribly wrong. So I don't want to have to dig through nylon. When I transition here, again, if I'm doing a slide lock or tack reload, which I've done both in combat, I want to be able to remove this quickly and get to that mag. Beer hand grip that magazine, which I use bullets forward because I reverse hand grip and this way and flip it up this way. I want to be able to load that gun back up as soon as possible. And then lastly, I have one that's covered because again, the priority becomes this shift. If I have time to get to this and it's a QD, a quick detach scenario, then when I do have time, I will move this magazine to this place. And I'll stow my empty mag here. So I'm constantly thinking about moving everything center line to be topped off at all times. And I hope that makes sense. Now, a lot of you might be asking, like, Mike, why are you running this and not running an internal belt? I've been through that whole deal, which is on your waistline where you have your belt that you run. Look, it comes from the shooting community, by the way, like the CR speed belts where you have an inner Velcro belt and then you attach an outer belt to that waist. Well, here's the thing, guys. If you tether a belt to your waist, depending on where your waist is located, like I'm half Korean, so I have like Koreans are known for having very broad chest and long torsos. So I got short little baby legs and like this massive chest. Just kidding. But seriously, maybe I'm not kidding. But if you think about it, if that sets me up, then my belt's really low. And the problem is, if you're in and around vehicles, which most of you are, especially when I was thinking about considering it for special operations, it was super uncomfortable. So if you're imagining like you're sitting down in a car and you got all that on your back, well, if this isn't tethered to your waist, you could lift it. And that sounds kind of like weird in a way, but you could lift it. That was the benefit of the old LCEs that used suspender straps. In fact, this has the adaptability of putting in a strap, because you could carry it and then lift it up off your back to be able to sit down against the back of a C-130 or to sit back into a car. So I like that. And sometimes, depending on what I'm doing, I might even reposition my pistol off the side to more in the front. So I like the ability to kind of shift it that way. Well, this belt made by GBRS is one of my favorite belts because of how minimalist it is and how proper it is. Now, what I like is the internal belt, you could add and weave through your actual jeans or your pants and then attach it. Or you can keep this attached or remove it completely. I would keep it attached because the Velcro is going to get all over your pants. So in this particular setup, it's all minimalist, but it's all high quality gear. So everything that's like, potentially sloppy, the junk wagon in the plastic Blade Tech holder that I have here for my magazines, that's old, that's clunky. This, lighter, very well made, and very minimalist. The idea of like the retention held with the plastic internally, that didn't exist when I was building this belt, but now it does. So now you got retention that holds it, where you don't even need to have this flap over because it's not going anywhere until you take a proper reverse beer can grip on it. I like this setup as one of my favorite because it has everything to do with the idea of evolving equipment for combat, but it most certainly is minimalist and perfect for self-defense. Like this in its form factor is very tight and small. You could stuff that under the seat of your vehicle. You could put this in your drawer of your nightstand away from your kids. Like this is the perfect setup. It's lightweight, a lot lighter than my heavy clunky setup, but with minimalist in mind. Guys, this will generally remain the same. I wanted to share that experience with you and talk about some of the ways that I think about this kit and some of the destinations in history, especially in my experiences, that it comes from. And what I'll be doing more frequently is talking about gear and equipment. In fact, Fieldcraft Survival is going to be doing scenario-based content as well as equipment-based content that is testing, assessing some of the best equipment ever made. We are not going to be biased in this, even though it's easy for us to be because I'm tied to a lot of these relationships in the industry. But we're going to teach you but also demonstrate what the best equipment is in the world. And that's the way we got to do it. We got to have this evolving, revolving conversation to get better. There is a translation behind special operations equipment and your use of that equipment in civilian life. Most definitely and most certainly. Guys, follow the channel, subscribe, hit the notification tab, and make sure you leave your feedback and comments below. I'll be doing a lot of this more often. If you're interested in hearing something specifically, like Mike, talk about that ballistic helmet, talk about that knife setup that you had in Afghanistan, I'll do that for you guys. Till next time, peace out.